I've seen people take issue with the framing that culture war issues are a distraction from quote-unquote real issues. And I do agree that the framing is problematic, as there are real people at the brunt of this shit. Like, for example, trans people not being able to access gender-affirming care, or women and people with uteruses in general being denied reproductive rights. And of course, social injustice often goes hand in hand with economic injustice. I just brought up reproductive rights. Let's say a teenager gets pregnant and they have no option to terminate the pregnancy. Now they're stuck with this enormous responsibility that averts them away from continuing on with their education and attaining a career. So yes, it is stupid to just hand wave away issues that negatively impact many vulnerable people in this country and treat real struggles that real people face like a hierarchy and just side drama in lieu of the real issues we should be focusing on. But here's where I stand. To an extent, I do view culture war issues as a distraction, within the context of them being a tool utilized by the billionaire class to keep the working class pitted against each other. That doesn't negate the seriousness of culture war issues, nor detracts from the harm they cause, but rather I think it is a simple acknowledgement that the ultra-wealthy would rather have regular people be hung up over differences in lifestyle, morality debates surrounding basic human rights, and other things of the sort, rather than correctly identifying and getting mad at economic inequality that these mega-rich fucks have benefited from for a very long time at this point. And that's why so many times when I talk about current events on this channel, I always circle back to talking bad about billionaires, because that's the true root of the problem, and I don't want to lose sight of that, and I don't want other people to lose sight of that as well. There are millions of people in this country struggling to make ends meet while their bills rise, their grocery prices rise, all the while their paychecks remain stagnant, because the fuckers at the top of the chain who head these companies that many of these struggling people are employed by want to ensure as much profit as possible is flowing upwards back to them. The top 1% hoard as much wealth and resources to themselves while trickling almost nothing back to the working class and the economy, both of which they regularly fuck over for their own benefit. Why do you think so many right-wing talking heads receive money from billionaires and go to bat for them every opportunity they can? Like when Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Health, got shot to death last year, he had a lot of these pundits like Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh scolding people and saying, how could the left not feel sorry for this man who profited off of mass suffering and death? When in reality, it wasn't just the left who didn't shed any tears for him, it was people all across the political spectrum, including people who were in Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh's own audience. And then they tried to make a culture war issue out of Brian Thompson's death by saying some nonsense like, if Brian Thompson were a black woman, I bet you would hear a very different tune from the left. This is all the fucking shit that they have. Divide on the basis of skin color, or sexual orientation, or gender identity, what have you. Because the billionaires who funnel money into this bullshit propaganda absolutely do not want universal class consciousness to be achieved. They'd rather you be mad at the trans people who make zero fucking impact on your life, and be drunk on bullshit like how they're transing 50 million kids, or whatever, than to be mad at the disgusting wealth gap in this country, or to be mad at the disgustingly low wages that are absolutely not proportional to the cost of living in this country, that again multi-billion-dollar conglomerates headed by billionaires help perpetuate, or billionaire-backed real estate firms buying up houses and apartments and inflating rent prices up to hell. And it's gross how such a relatively small class of people are more than willing to put vulnerable and marginalized people in the line of fire if it means keeping the working class as a whole at odds with each other and not being able to identify who is really making their lives worse. This does not mean by any stretch that culture war issues are not worth talking about. They're trivial. Like I said, there are many real people who face real harm because they themselves are at the brunt of these culture war issues. I'm just saying, don't lose sight of who is helping perpetuate these culture war talking points and signal boosting them, and who ultimately benefit the most from culture war issues having such a stranglehold on political discourse in this country. I mean, for fuck's sake, the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, controls one of the most prominent social media platforms. He successfully shaped Twitter into a far-right hellhole propaganda mill, where if you want your voice to be heard louder than others, billionaires. You have to pay the richest man in the world $8 a month. And who are the type of people most likely to do that? People who already like and agree with Elon Musk, or at the very least ascribe to a lot of the same things he believes in, and will use their louder voice on the platform to espouse talking points that further divides the working class. And of course, it's not always people doing this. A lot of these blue check propaganda accounts are also ran by bots. But the end goal is still the same. Keep the working class mad at each other, and not the billionaires and corporations who are actually ruining their lives. Or if they are mad at corporations, they're mad at them for the wrong reasons, like, oh, Starbucks put Happy Holidays on my coffee cup instead of Merry Christmas. Instead of, getting mad at Starbucks for something real, like, for example, the numerous times they have busted unions. Anyway, culture war issues are distractions, but they're not trivial distractions, if you get what I mean. And I see a glimmer of hope in more people realizing this, in the form of Zoran Mamdani's surging popularity here in NYC. He correctly identified that it's the billionaires and corporations who are driving up the cost of living and making your lives harder. And he never once sold out immigrants or homeless people or any other marginalized group like Andrew Cuomo did leading up to the primary. And he blew Cuomo the fuck out during the primary, and I have no doubt that he will also blow Cuomo the fuck out in the general. Forgive me, I just had to shoehorn in some Zoran glazing at the very end here. God, he's so good. I'm so proud he's gonna be my next mayor. That's all I have to say. Bye-bye.